everyone, Danielle here with the second video for this week, and this video is just going to focus on Copic markers, and I'm actually not even going to do any coloring in this video. It's more just to go over kind of the qualities of the Copics, why they're so amazing, and also the numbering system, because if you're just getting started with Copics, it could be a little bit confusing, and so I thought I would just explain it as best I can so that you know, you can learn a little something. So first of all, here's some of the Copics, and I'm going to be talking about and showing the Copic sketches. There are Copic chows, I think there's a Copic original, but I use the Copic sketch, and I think that's what most of us paper crafters use. And so that's what I'm going to be showing and talking to you about. And the first thing is that you'll notice is that it is a dual tip marker. So you have one side, which is my favorite side, and that's the brush, and it works very similarly to a paintbrush. It's really nice because you can control, you can either do, you know, fine line or a broader stroke depending on what you're looking for. And the other thing that I love about this is that you can do feathering, which is where you start dark and then fade to light, and that's one of my favorite things to do. And then you have the other side, which is like, what am I trying to say? A blunt tip, I guess, and you know, you can do a much broader stroke. So if you were coloring in a large image, you could certainly use this end. And it's kind of an oval shape, which I like. It's very conducive to coloring. It's very comfortable. I can color for an hour with these and, you know, not get any blisters or have any pain in my fingers like you would with, you know, maybe a regular pen or a pencil. So that's really neat. These are alcohol-based markers, and even though they're alcohol, they don't really have too much of an odor. It's a really low odor marker. The nice thing is that they're refillable, so that you're not buying markers over and over again, because they can be a little bit expensive. Copics are definitely an investment, and so it's nice that you can refill them and not have to worry about needing to replace them entirely. And the other good thing is that you can buy replacement nibs for the markers. So if the tip were to get damaged, dry out, or just wear over time, you can replace it. You're not going to have to buy a whole new marker. You can store these vertically or horizontally. Unlike the glitter pen that I showed you that you needed to store horizontally, you can store these upright if you wanted to, depending on your storage situation. And because these are alcohol based, they're not going to make your paper pill up, so you can just color over and over and over the same spot while you're, you know, when you're blending or coloring, and you don't have to worry about your paper pilling or tearing like you would if it were a water-based marker, which is really nice. And since it is alcohol and it's permanent, it works on a whole bunch of surfaces: paper, fabric, plastic. I think you can use it on like leather. I haven't done really any of those crazy things, but what I do like to use it for is kind of customizing my embellishments. So you can take one of your Copics, and I'll just pick one of these. You can color actually your rhinestones or even your pearls with your Copic. So what I usually do, I do have a good collection of Copics, so I usually don't even bother buying colored rhinestones anymore. I just buy clear, and then I color them as I need for whatever I'm working on. So that's pretty neat, and you can do it with the pearls as well. And the good thing about these is that the way they were designed, they're not going to, you're not going to contaminate markers. So you wouldn't really dream of doing this if you were using like a regular Crayola marker, because it would ruin it, but you can actually take these and you can run your lighter color right through the dark, and you don't have to worry about it ruining the tip of your marker or discoloring it. It's still going to be that same shade. And they were designed like that so you can, you know, achieve really neat blending effects. They actually want you to, you know, mix the colors together. So that's pretty cool. Now, I guess the most confusing thing about these markers, oh, and one more thing, which I didn't even realize until more recently, and I don't know why, but the great thing is that they have this gray band around the side with the brush tip, and I didn't really notice it until, like I said, probably a month ago, even though I've been using these for a while. And that just makes it really easy if you have a whole bunch of markers out, or even just one, and you're using one side or the other. You don't have to worry about looking for the little picture, although it does have the picture showing you what end it is. But you don't have to worry about opening it and you open the wrong side. 100% of the time you will always be able to open whatever side it is that you want. So that's pretty neat. But anyway, I guess the biggest thing about Copics is the numbering system. So if you look at these markers, you'll see that they have, you know, letters, a series of letters and numbers. And that was what was really confusing to me when I first started looking at Copics. I didn't understand what they meant or how you picked them, and it's actually fairly simple. So I'll go ahead and show you. Hopefully you can see this well enough. So it's all the markers will start with the letter, and that's going to stand for whatever color family it is. So this is a V, and that stands for violet. If you had one like this with a G, that would stand for green, R would be red, Y for yellow, and so on. So that's really simple. And then you'll see a series of numbers, and that's where it might get a little more confusing, but it's still pretty simple. So the first number, which in this case is a 0, is going to tell you how bright or vibrant the color is going to be. So the lower the number, the brighter it is. So this is a 0, so it's going to be the brightest. And I'm just going to draw a little doodle. Okay, so because it's a 0, we know it'll be bright. And then I'll go ahead and show you the opposite. So if you look at this one, our first number is a 9. So that means it's going to be pretty dull, definitely nowhere near as bright as this. And it's actually going to have a little bit of like a grayish tint to it. So you can see how different they are. Even though they're both, like when you look at the markers, they both look pretty like a pale violet color. You would think they'd be similar enough, but when you actually draw with them, you can see that the 0 is much brighter and more vibrant than the 9, which is a little bit kind of dull and flat compared to it. So that's what the first number means. And to be honest, I don't really worry about that at all. What I am more concerned with is the last number and how we use both numbers to pick our colors. So that was your first number. Now the second number is going to tell you how saturated the color is going to be, so how light or dark it will be. And so this is a 1, so this is going to be the lightest. And I'll just go ahead. So the lower the number, the lighter it's going to be. If it's a 5, it's going to be kind of a mid-tone. So that was a 1, and here's a 9. This is going to be the darkest. So there you go. So light and dark. This was a 1, this was a 9. So pretty simple. And then what really trips people up is picking colors that are going to blend naturally together. And so it's actually really simple. And this is a general rule. Obviously there are exceptions to this rule, just like with anything else. And if you were just coloring images and not worried about blending, then you don't even need to worry about this part. But if you want colors to blend and shade like I did on this butterfly here, I did some blending and shading to give it kind of shadows and some contrast. If you want to do something like that, then you should probably listen to this. So it's really simple. So general rule is you always want the letter to be the same. So for this series, it's always going to be a V. So I have all V's, so we can check that off the list of rules. So you want the letter to be the same. And the first number to be the same. So I'm looking good so far. V0, V0, V0. And then as far as the last number, you want to keep in general about I would say 2 to 4 numbers in between each marker. So I kind of, didn't follow the rule here because I have a 1, a 6, and a 9. But in general, you want to keep 2 to 4 numbers in between to get some really good shading. So you can see, I'll draw here. So here's my 1 and my 6. And then the 9. So even if you weren't going to blend or shade, you could follow the same rules to pick colors that you knew would match really well together. So those are the three that I showed you. The 1, 6, and 9. And really quickly, when you're picking colors you want to blend, make sure the first letter and the first number are the same. And then as far as the last number, try to keep between 2 and 4 values between each, just so that you can get some really nice shading and blending with your markers. And that's really it. It's pretty simple. I'm going to actually put a little diagram with that underneath the video, so if you wanted to print it out or just bookmark the page or come back to this post ever, the information will be there. You won't have to watch the whole video to see that. And a few other things as far as ink. The ink you want to use, you don't want to use just any old ink when you're coloring with Copics because it will bleed. The markers will make the ink bleed. So you want to use Memento Tuxedo Black ink, or any shade of Memento. You could use gray or pink, but you want to use the Memento dye ink, and I, 99% of the time use black. You probably also want to pick up the Memento Tuxedo Black marker like I showed you in the first video. Sometimes this can be a little splotchy, so I usually go back with the pen tip and I'll, fill in the outline. Or if I'm coloring and cutting an image out, I'll go with the brush tip to trace around the outside of the image like I showed you in the first video as well. And then as far as paper is concerned, I've tried a bunch, and my favorites are the Nina Solar White, which I'll link to below, and my absolute favorite would be the Copic Express Set blending paper. I mean, this paper was really designed to work with Copics, and so you're going to get some really phenomenal results, even if you're a beginner with the markers. And it's a little more expensive, but like I said in a previous video, it's not like you're using this whole sheet to make a card. You're usually just stamping a small image and then cutting it out to color it. So it does last a long time. I've had this pack of 10 for a couple months. So, it's definitely a good investment if you really want to get some good results with your Copics. And that is that. So if you have any questions, let me know. Like I said, I will do videos in the future with actually coloring images, but this was more just to introduce you to Copics and how they work and some of their features. So hopefully you learned a little bit, just like a little something, and I will see you guys later this week, and thanks for watching.